of, I'll just have to ride with it, okay? Of a woman that came into church that was bent over, and she's been bent over a long time. I forget what it said. Do you remember? 18 years or something? Is that what it said?
Yeah, it said 18 years.
Thank you. 18 years she was bent over. It's a long time, right? How old are you? How old?
Yeah, I was 4, but I just had to go since I was
5. All right, he's 5. But 18 years. 18 years bent over, and Jesus healed her. And Jesus also said, he said that greater things will you do. And we have great saints to remember today. Saint Barbara, the great martyr. Saint John of Damascus, a great martyr. Great saints. And we're remembering also today, even though his feast day is Tuesday, Saint Nicholas. We didn't move him up on a Sunday. We're going to do liturgy on Tuesday for Saint Nicholas. But we're so close to Saint Nicholas, and I see that lots of you are missing your shoes. So am I. The deacon and I decided we want in on it, so I do it every year. I didn't bring my big cowboy boots this time, just shoes. Okay. I want to tell you 3 stories about St. Nicholas. Did you guys see this icon of St. Nicholas? Do you see him?
He's got to put stuff on those shoes. So
Yes, he is. That's one of the stories. Okay, you guys see this icon? Everybody look at this icon of St. Nicholas. You guys see this? What you can't see, and you guys can't see it, but what you can't see is that, well, you guys can see, that his vestments are red. You see that?
Yeah.
Like mine?
Mom thinks that St. Nicholas is going to put ketchup in their shoes and won't forget and put stuff in their shoes.
All right, well, let's hope that doesn't happen. All right, sit back down. All right. Born 1,800 years ago, known for his goodness, St. Nicholas. St. Nicholas set up orphanages and hospitals, including for the mentally ill. He fed the starving and famine. He created a drainage system so his people would stop getting sick, die of diseases. He freed captives that were unjustly imprisoned, and he saved sailors in stormy seas. The shoe story, the stocking story, if you put stockings up for Christmas time, put your shoes out, is a story that comes from St. Nicholas, a miracle that he worked on behalf of a family. A father has 3 daughters. A father has 3 daughters, unlike your family, which is like all boys other than you. And he does not have a dowry so that they can be married. This was a different time, and there were different ways of doing this. You guys listen to this. And he didn't have the money that he needed to help his daughters. And St. Nicholas came over 3 nights and put gold in the shoes or socks, depending on what was, I don't know what was hanging or what was sit by the fire. Depends on the story, thank you. Depends on the story you read. He put gold in each of the girls' shoes so that they would not have to be like working, like enslaved to people, that they could be free. So we set out our stockings. We set out our shoes. The second story is a story about St. Nicholas being invited to a meeting of all the bishops. It was the first meeting that the church ever had like this. You guys will love this story.
I don't love this story.
You don't even know this story. He gets invited with all the bishops. There were probably like 2,000 bishops at the time. In what they call the First Ecumenical Council. St. Nicholas gets invited. About 300 or so bishops go to this meeting. Part of the reason they had this meeting was because there was some priest, girls listen, there was some priest who was teaching something that wasn't true. And when they told him to stop teaching it, he kept teaching it. So they had a meeting to decide, is he teaching the right thing or the wrong thing? He was teaching that Jesus was not 100% God and 100% man. He was teaching that Jesus was something else, like a third thing. Not God and not man, but something else. That's not what we teach.
He died on the cross.
Yeah, we're going to get to that. All right. Jesus. We have an icon of him here, an icon of him here. He's everywhere. His icon's everywhere. With Mary back there on the cross, like you said. 100% God and 100% man. When Arius got corrected, okay, the official teaching is Jesus is God and man, 100% of both, not parts and all that kind of stuff. He's totally God and he's totally a human person at the same time. One person, two natures. Arius did not stop teaching. He said, well, I'm going to keep teaching what I want. St. Nicholas, I don't really want you to do what I'm about to tell you that he did. St. Nicholas could not stand to hear this man like blaspheme God, that he would say something that wasn't true about God. And he went up to Arius. Sweet St. Nicholas went up to Arius and slapped him in the meeting with all the bishops and the hangers-ons and whatever. And there's an icon of St. Nicholas doing this. They put St. Nicholas, they lock him up that night. They don't know what to do with him. They put him in prison. And the other bishops all had in their prayers and in their dreams at night a vision that Jesus and Mary the Theotokos, Mary was with St. Nicholas. They restored him. They gave him his vestments back. He's a bishop. They gave him his bishop's vestments back. And they knew that Arius was wrong for sure. I mean, they knew he was wrong for sure, but they knew that St. Nicholas was a great saint. The last story about St. Nicholas, does anybody know what a submarine is?
Yes, it goes underwater. No, it's like a sub.
All right, everybody knows what a submarine is. It's a boat that goes underwater.
It's a boat
Yes.
that goes underwater and it's waterproof.
And it's waterproof. Yes. Okay. So in the 1980s, there was a Russian nuclear submarine that stopped working when the sailors were in it underwater. This is a bad thing to have happen, to not have any motors when you're in a sub in the middle of the ocean, and it didn't blow up. But that's what they were concerned about, was that the nuclear engines were offline. You guys listen, everybody? The nuclear power was offline. They weren't sure, and they really expected they were all planning to die. One of the sailors remembered what his grandmother taught him about St. Nicholas, that he saves sailors. He loves sailors, and he saves sailors. So one of the sailors on the submarine prayed to St. Nicholas, and the engines started working, and they were saved. It's a sweet story, but there's lots and lots of stories about St. Nicholas because he's still here with us today. And he loves us, like all the saints. You know, St. Barbara, we have that big icon on the wall right there. See that? That's St. Barbara. We're remembering her today. Another just tremendously wonderful saint. She had to stand up to the powers that be. And she was willing to risk everything for Christ. We heard in Orthros that she went all the way to her death, standing up for Jesus. St. John of Damascus, other great saints we have today. Do you guys love St. Nicholas? St. Nicholas is your saint? Everybody loves St. Nicholas. St. Nicholas loves all of us. So the last thing I want to say, sweetie, last thing I want to say is, especially maybe this one for the adults, but for all of us, we need to humble ourselves the way these saints did. Gave themselves to God. They didn't want everything to go their way. They wanted everything to go the way the Lord had it for them. There is not a saint that did not embrace the fast. We do not have Saint so-and-so, the glutton. There's not one. There's not one saint in the church that ignored the fast. Not one saint in the church. There's not one saint that didn't attend the services of the church. There's just not one. There's not a saint that's like, I'm good. I'm going to mow the lawn instead. There's not a single saint like that in the church. And there's not a saint that's proud. There's not a single saint that was like full of himself. There's not one. The path is so laid out for us, and we kind of like don't want to take it. But the path is humility, it's fasting, it's confession, it's the services, it's prayer, prayer at night especially, but it's prayer whenever we can do it, however we can do it. Let us give ourselves to this. We're 3 weeks from Nativity. I think 3 weeks today. 3 weeks today from Nativity. We'll have 2 more Sundays, and then that third Sunday we'll be back here in the morning. Don't blow off the next 3 weeks of the fast. Don't blow off the next 3 weeks of prayer and come to confession. Like, go for it. This is our winter Lent. Let's do it. Let's go for it. And we'll ask for the prayers of St. Nicholas and St. Barbara.
Talking about winter later.
Is it? Coming around. St. Nicholas, through the prayers of St. Nicholas. Easy. You guys are good. Sitting right here. You guys did good. Blessing of the Lord. Blessing of the Lord. Through the prayers of St. Nicholas. All right. May He bless you and keep you and save you. And we'll check our shoes after church or when you guys go to Sunday school. Through the prayers of our Holy Fathers, Lord Jesus Christ, our God, have mercy on us and save us.
Amen.